Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and a very special welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Two zones of special operations, one in Mount Salem, the other in Denham Town, and two states of public emergency, one in St. James, the other in St. Catherine North. What's happening in these areas and what happens after? Do we perpetually extend? Are we doing the work we need to do? Joining us, we have Milton Tomlinson. He is manager for violence reduction with the Peace Management Initiative. We also have with us Director of Communications in the Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan. The Public Defender, Arlene Harrison Henry, also in studio with us, and lecturer and researcher and Director of the Center for Entrepreneurial Thinking at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Kadamawe Knife. Before we go to our guests, though, TVJ's Giovanni Dennis has this overview.
To successfully tackle the murder problem, some of the fundamentally guaranteed rights and freedoms may have to be abrogated, abridged, or infringed.
Those words by Attorney General Marlene Malahou Fort created controversy and raised questions about the intentions of the government. On September 1, 2017, the first zone of special operations was announced in Mount Salem, St. James. Here's Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
The zone is now declared in the Mount Salem area and environs.
The declaration that many Jamaicans had been waiting to hear. Now, the first zone of special operation has been activated, the order gazetted, and the security forces have moved in. In making the announcement Friday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness stressed that this is part of efforts to make Jamaica safe again.
Zone by zone, community by community, square inch by square inch, we will establish and restore public order, citizen security, and public safety.
According to the Zone of Special Operations Act, a zone provides for special measures for upholding and preserving the rule of law, public order, citizen security, and the public safety within certain geographically defined areas of Jamaica. In November, a second zone was declared, this time in the volatile West Kingston community of Denham Town.
For strategic reasons which we will not disclose and we will not deliberate on, we have decided to declare Denham Town as the second zone of operations.
Another ZOSO declaration from the Prime Minister. Denham Town in West Kingston has met the first order criteria for the National Security Council.
Ongoing gang warfare, rampant criminality, escalating violence and murder, and a threat to rule of law.
The Mount Salem ZOSO has so far been extended twice and the Denham Town ZOSO once. But by the end of 2017, a record 335 murders in St. James, the highest of all 19 police divisions, prompted the government to go further. On January 18, Prime Minister Andrew Holness dug deep into the crime-fighting toolbox and came up with the ultimate measure, a state of public emergency.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness making the announcement, which has been on the cards for some time. The backdrop, 335 murders in St. James last year. And for the first 13 days of 2018, 6 reported murders. So why did it take so long to call the state of emergency?
Some persons may have felt it should have happened long ago. But I'm now of the view that this has happened when we have an alignment of all the variables to make this operation successful.
Those variables, a proper plan, resources, and public support. So now the security forces have raised the ante. Operation Take Back St. James is in effect, going after gangs responsible for murders, shootings, scamming, extortion, and other illegal activities.
The key operational objectives of the security forces are to disrupt the activities of these gangs, regularize the security environment, and ensure the restoration of peace and the rule of law.
2 months later, another state of emergency announced, this time for St. Catherine North.
A state of public emergency has been declared in the St. Catherine North Police Division effective Sunday, March 18th. These enhanced security measures through the Emergency Powers Act will last initially for 14 days.
So far, one extension has been granted for the St. Catherine North state of emergency. The opposition has supported all these measures but has called for more.
While we will support this, we urge that all necessary measures be taken to ensure that the situation is brought under control.
The zone of special operations in Mount Salem and that in Denham Town were both extended for an additional 60 days in Parliament on April 11. The state of public emergency in St. James expires May 2 and that in St. Catherine North on Tuesday, July 3. With murders as at April 21 this year at 442 when compared to 420 for the same period last year, an increase of 5.2%, the big question is, what next? Giovanna Dennis for All Angles.
And let me remind you, tweet along with us. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. You can also text us. It's 8953 999 8953 999. Do give us your first name, give us your location. Milton Tomlinson, let me throw that to you. So what next? Especially with the St. James SOE expiring next week. A lot of people want to see these continue. Is that the way to go?
Well, I mean, from the PMI standpoint, we would support any attempt by any government to reduce the homicide in the country because things are really bad. And if it is that, given the right reason, you know, that a particular phase of the ZOSO is not completed for us to see the result that is desired and they need that extension, then I think it makes sense to do so.
What about the SOE, state of emergencies?
State of emergency for me is a tool that's not supposed to be out there too long. It's something, it's like a shockwave. It must just go out there, have a special focus, do what it's supposed to do and just pull back. And the other entities, like the social intervention and stuff like that start out to take place. And, you know, because I feel, knowing that like the Peace Management Initiative and the Citizen Security and Justice Program, CSJP, we work inside of these communities. We have case files. We know the most of the producers, violence producers who we work with on a daily basis, and try to get them to have the community on a level. So, I mean, us being a part of this conversation, when something like a state of emergency is declared, or even the ZOSO, you know, the social intervention part of it, we must be heavily involved.
Right, and we're soon going to come to that issue of social intervention. Public defender, let me come to you, because you're on record as saying state of emergency, especially the one in St. James. I don't know if you've commented on St. Catherine North, but the one in St. James, you're saying that needs to end. Tell us why.
I certainly agree with the first speaker as to the use of the tool of the state of emergency. It's intended to be in existence for a short period of time. And as I've said, it is intended to kind of address a crisis and to pull back. And I think where we have reached now is that the abuse of rights is something that is alarming. And I want to contextualize that.
Yeah, because the National Security Minister is saying they have no complaints.
The abuse of rights is does not only relate to someone slapping you physically or someone shooting you, as we have had in the past. It relates to being detained, being deprived of your liberty for days, and merely open the door and let you out. In other words, there was no reason that this particular person was picked up because there was nothing there in respect of him, and he's not a wanted person. So the abuse has taken place in a different form. We have $300 per day to feed adult men, 3 meals. We have inadequate accommodation for them, no bedding, no proper service. The fact of the matter is that what we say to this group of young men that we have taken up, and in the both states of emergency, it's about 2,000. In St. James, 2,000 St. Catherine North. When you take them up and you process them, you keep them for 4 or 5 days. Some are released the very day that they come in. But you keep them because you want to make sure that they are not involved, they are not part of the violence producers. What we really say to this group of young men is that you're actually quite worthless. In addition to which, you fit the profile of the people we are looking for. Get up into the back of that truck. Now, I'm saying that it can't be that that is how we go about using the extraordinary powers given to us under a state of emergency. So our position is quite simply. We have gone in, we have jolted the community. Murders are down, for which we are all happy. Murders are down. We need to go back to policing in the normal sense, and we need to find an exit strategy out of the states of emergency.
So hold that point, please, Public Defender. We have to go to the break. When we come back, we're going to pick up with that. Remember, our hashtag, it's TVJ All Angles, and our text line 8953999. Give us your first name and location. We'll soon come.